All right, Josh, Johnny, how do you guys know each other?
Dude, I fucking hate intros, Josh. Just so you know, and that was literally the worst one we've done yet. So,
Let's start over.
um,
Should we just say,
nah, I mean, let's just run it.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, roll with it.
yeah. So yeah, give you a little backstory. I met Josh. I think it's it might have been a month now ago or about 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I have a mutual friend named Ben Owen who he's kind of a LinkedIn friend and now Facebook friend, and now we're on a board together. And so we just kind of been going back and forth, both in the same kind of, I guess you could say, field, or I don't want to say industry because it's not about the industry part of it. But and so he does a lot of stuff in Memphis, Tennessee, and Josh will get into that. But I wanted to kind of see for myself because number one, it's wild how much shit they got going on out there. And number two, it's pretty impressive. So I was in Memphis for for my work, doing some stuff with the VA and checking out. We have facilities out there in actually in Arkansas, but right across the river. So I was over there, and so Ben happened to be out of town, and so he's like, get with my top guy over there, Josh. And so Josh and I started texting and talking to each other, and he's like, yeah, I'm out here at the block. And when we say the block, he'll explain it. It's like right in the dead in the middle of the hood. You know what I mean? Like right in like probably one of the roughest areas of South Memphis. For those that don't know, one of the probably top five, murder capitals of the world, of the country every year. Devastated by drugs and violence and things of that. And so I went down there, and I got done doing what I needed to do for work. And so we connected, and I was like, let me come get you some lunch or whatever the case, him and his team. And so I went down there and we hung out. We went out to eat. I met some of the guys that are working on these projects that they have, and I was just like blown away. And I'm not saying this because he's on here because I think everyone knows I'm not gonna. I'm very what you see is what you get. If I didn't like you, I wouldn't say it. But this guy Josh is like, I was very impressed. I told Ben immediately, like, number one, his passion for what he does. Number two, his story, and he's relatively early in his this part of his journey, and but he's operating on all cylinders. And it was like, I don't know. Immediately, I asked him. I said, "Would you come on to our podcast?" Because it's really cool to see someone who isn't so far along, but he's doing so much good for people. And so that's how Josh and I got connected. We talked a couple times, and he was cool enough to come on here. That's how that happened.
okay, cool, very cool. All right. All right then, Josh. So let's start with this. Johnny says you're early in the state or early in this part of your journey. What does that mean?
So he's talking about I'm early in recovery. I've
Okay.
only been sober for about 13 months, 14 months now, maybe.
Congratulations.
Just trying to live a different walk, trying to do right every day.
Okay. All right.
Um,
You mind? We'll ask a few questions about what your history is and then what you're doing now.
yeah, shoot.
Okay.
You ask me what you want.
All right. So what was your flavor of agents? What did you like to use to help cope?
Meth.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, that was the most part. Anything really.
Okay.
The majority was meth.
Okay. Now, did you like to do what Johnny did, was balance the meth out with heroin?
No, no, I never really just tried to balance anything out, to be honest. And heroin wasn't anything that I ever did. I wasn't somebody that liked to slow down. Like I wanted to be on the go 24/7. And the lifestyle that I lived, it was just more beneficial to me to be awake and kind of be aware of everything going on around me all the time.
What was
Start
that?
us out with where are you from? What area are you from?
So I'm from a small town called Henry, Tennessee. Population of like 400 people. Really small town. It's about an hour on the other side of Jackson, headed towards Nashville, Tennessee.
Okay. When you say the lifestyle that you led, it was beneficial for you to constantly be up. What was the lifestyle you were leading?
I was 100% a criminal.
Okay.
I was living in some people's houses that honestly they didn't even know what I looked like for probably the first 6 months I was there paying the bills because I wore a mask all the time. Told them to stay out of my business. I'd stay out of theirs. The bills would be paid. Just don't ask no questions.
You gotta back me up a little bit here.
So one of the main things that I was doing was I had run into some people that were owed some money, and I explained to them that it was a simple retrieve job, pretty much. You know, you text me an address, I'll go get your money and bring it back. No questions asked. I'll hand you a portion of it. I'll keep a portion of it. I'll go on about my business. We don't even have to know each other's names. So that was my main gig, was kicking doors and robbing folks.
On behalf of people that they owed money to.
Yeah.
And the type of people that, or the people that they owed money to were, and the
Cartel members.
I'm sorry?
Cartel members.
Okay. All right, so you collected.
Mhm.
All right. And then tell me about how we got to the point where we're living in someone's house and they don't know what you look like.
So I was in, it's a little bit of a story here. I was in a Hope Center. It was a faith-based rehab, year-long treatment center. And I ended up leaving. So when I left, I ended up in a house with 5 people that were graduates from the Hope Center. So the night that I moved in, they were throwing a big party. I walked in and immediately went right back to the same mindset. Left, went and got a bunch of dope, come back to the house, got everybody high, started giving people jobs and little odd and end stuff that we could do to create some revenue, feed ourselves, keep the bills paid, this and that. So about 4 or 5 months into that, one of them is in the pen for the rest of his life. 3 of them are dead. I don't know where the other one is. I hadn't heard anything from him. We ended up losing that house. And so I texted one of the people that I had served a few different times and asked them if they had an extra room, which I knew they had an extra room. They were renovating their house and stuff. I was like, hey, man, I know neither one of y'all are really just working a full-time job. Y'all got an extra room. Like, why don't you just let me rent that room out for the rent and utilities? I'll make sure the bills are paid. I just need somewhere to stay. They was like, okay, and they had never really seen me. I didn't go out during the day. I went out at nighttime, always had a mask on, was usually by myself. I taught myself a long time ago that if I'm going to do dirt, I got to do it by myself. That way there is no witnesses or this or that. You ain't got to worry about nobody snitching on you and getting any more trouble.
No co-defendant.
Yeah, that's real stuff.
Let me take you back. What did the criminal activity start because of the drugs, like to get high, or yeah, I figured it was. So like, what came first, right? Sometimes the chicken or the egg, right? But were you like always into criminal activity? Were you always into like that type of shit, or did that like kind of come after the drugs?
No. So the drugs came because of the criminal activity. When I was 13, I was a rough little kid, man. No guidance, no direction. My dad wasn't around. I lived on the other side of the state. I ended up on my own, trying to figure just life out. You know what I'm saying? Like, hell, dude, I was a 13-year-old kid, didn't have any clue on what I wanted to be, who I wanted to be, this and that. And the streets and just the street mentality was attractive to me. People had what they wanted. They did what they wanted. They didn't need anybody. And that was the thing that I guess appealed to me the most, was the mindset of, I don't need anybody. Well, I didn't have anybody. So it just made sense for me to fall into that category. Like, hell, I don't need nobody. They ain't there anyway. So
when you were saying that, like, there's people on the street, were you based on people that you knew personally that were like that, or like stuff you'd seen in TV, or combination of the two? Like at 13, like, what's your experience? What's your knowledge base of what it was like for people on the street? Where's that coming from?
Absolutely nothing.
Okay.
I was absolutely brand new to it. Like I said earlier, I'm from a really, really small country town. Dude, people drive tractors to school to drop their kids off, like country. And then I moved to Johnson City and was living in a city. So I didn't know anything about the actual street life and this and that. It was actually, so I was showed to one of my, like through my school, like to my new classes, where they are and who the teacher is and this and that, by another kid in that school. So when I ended up homeless, this kid walked by me. I was sleeping on a park bench and was like, "Hey man, I recognize you. Like, ain't you the dude that I showed the class the other day?" I was like, "Yeah, you know." And I linked up with him, and he was pretty much living the same type of lifestyle. He still lived at home, but he was running the streets. He was running with an older crowd. They all had drugs and money, and was teaching him the ropes. It was really easy for me to just fall in that crowd as just the new kid on the block, pretty much. And that's what I did.
Did I miss the part on how you ended? Did I miss that part on how you ended up homeless?
So I was a very, so let me say this first. I've blamed my parents for a lot of shit that has went down in my life. When honestly, now that I'm sobering up, man, and my mind's coming back to me and I'm learning to take accountability for my own actions, I'm not going to say that everything was perfect between me and my parents, but I am going to say that I was a very unparentable kid. Like if you told me to do something, I was absolutely not going to do it, you know, and it made me uncontrollable. So I happened to be with my mother, and things just didn't really work out the greatest. So I ended up just leaving and not staying there, breaking all the rules and staying gone all the time, and this and that. You know what I'm saying? So for a long time, I told people that she never really came to look for me, but I can't say that that's true. All I know is that she never found me. You know, my dad come and
It,
found me when I was 16. Uh, Brought me back home.
And you've
Got
been
my
gone for 3 years at this point?
Yeah, yeah. I did what I wanted when I wanted, how I wanted. The guy that I met up with and the crew that I linked up with were gang affiliated. I never joined anything. I didn't never let anybody bring me home. It's the street term, but you know, I was running with a pretty bad crowd. They taught me how to cook up crack, sell drugs to make an. I was about to say an honest living. It wasn't so honest, but it kept money in my pocket. It kept people around me that if something went down, it wasn't going to be happening to me. Whatever was going to happen was happening to whoever was trying to get over on me.
hey, Josh, it sounds like you might have worked the fourth, fifth, and sixth, seventh step at some point in your life, huh?
Yeah,
What's that
yeah.
Okay.
Here
Well,
recently.
fourth step is yeah. And man, so we're not. I don't. You and I have talked, and I'm very open about being the 12 step guy. But we don't push that on here. I don't like again. Like I say it every time. I don't
I'm
give a fuck
not.
what you do.
Yeah,
Yeah, Jen's not.
go ahead. Sorry.
So like fourth step is again where where we talk about resentments and we talk about trying to find our part in them, and that's
Oh.
to a T. And Josh, I had to bring that up because I talk about this shit all the time and with people, and it's like people get wronged, and when especially as children, right? And they think that they're well, I don't have a part, and it's like that's a prime example what you just said of somebody who has been through some shit as a kid, and probably there was some wrongdoing on on your mother's side and all that, but like seeing your part in that and the freedom that you can hear in your voice come out of that is like so important for people to hear, because it's literally what that fourth step is about, and then it's 5, 6, and 7, but to understand how like yeah, we may have been harmed and hurt, but like there is a piece of that we can see the other side of,
Right.
and correct me if I'm wrong, there was freedom in that, right? Like knowing that maybe your
Oh,
mom, all these things you thought. Go ahead.
yeah, tremendous, tremendous freedom in it, man. That was when I started really knowing what peace was, you know. And it's crazy how that works, you know what I'm saying? Like, bro, I held a lot of resentments. I had a lot of anger and a lot of fire in my heart for things. And until I started looking in the mirror at my role, like, man, I did this, so this was the outcome for it, or I didn't do this, so this couldn't take place. So it happened this way.
Mhm.
It just it brought all those directions kind of together in a straight path for me and started letting me see that, you know, I fucked up a lot in life,
Mhm.
you know, but it doesn't have to be that way anymore. Like something I tell people a lot is Dude, my past used to be a burden. It used to bother me. My past used to own me. All right. It's just not that way anymore, man. Today, I stand firm on my 2 feet and I own my past. You know, I can use it as a tool to further somebody else's recovery. You know, it doesn't have to hurt me anymore. It can be strength for somebody else going through the same steps. They just don't know what direction to go in yet. You know, like I live my life by that with every step that I take.
When you say owning your past has helped bring you peace, can you expound on that a little bit? Like, what do you think? Why do you think where did the peace come from? What is that?
Peace is being able to look at myself in the mirror and not think, damn, you piece of shit. I can look at the mirror today and be okay with who I am. Like I can look at myself today and think, damn, you know, after everything, I'm turning out to be an okay dude. You know, that's what peace to me is.
And as part of that, reconciling or accepting and owning your responsibility for the things in your past.
Yes, it allows me to close those doors instead of leaving them open. Because, you know,
do you think doing that allows us to feel the sense of character that we need to be okay with ourselves? Now, there's something like when I know I'm not owning my shit, I don't feel okay with my character, the bones of me. You know, like I don't feel okay when I'm owning it. When I take responsibility for it, I feel like my character is upstanding, and then I feel better about myself. Do you feel like sometimes when that even subconsciously or internally, we know when we're not taking accountability for all of our part in things? Do you think that we know in some level that like there's the character is kind of missing the strength and the bones, so to speak? Do you think we know that?
Yeah, I think we do. And I think that externally we show it, even though that at sometimes we might not recognize that we're showing it. But, you know, you get somebody that isn't cleaning their side of the street and they're angry, they're bitter, and it's because nothing's going their way. Well, maybe it's not that it's not going their way. Maybe it's that they're not cleaning their side of the street and they're angry about it because they can only focus on anything and everything that everybody else is doing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Well,
So
let
they're
me add
irritated
to
with
that.
this and that.
So, but I think one of the things in that is when we're not doing that. So whether we subconsciously, like, so when I'm drinking and drugging and I'm on the block and I'm on the street and I'm doing the things I need to do to get by, I'm also surrounding myself with like-minded people, right? So I think there's like Jen, I think that subconscious and all that comes out maybe when we stop doing this shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that can be the problem, right? Because when I stop getting high, so I'm no longer that was our solution, right? Getting high for a long time to what we thought was wrong with us. And so when I stop getting high, if I don't do anything about that other part of it, that's when the subconscious kicks in. And then I start to understand that, like, hey, man, like all the things that you just talked about are there, but I'm not doing anything about it. And that to me is when guilt and shame kicks in. And then I go right back to the dope.
Right. That's
Yeah.
exactly. And that's kind of what I was thinking about, though, the cycle of addiction. It's like, there's something like if let's say the subconscious is the back part of your brain that kind of takes control of what powers your breathing and all that stuff, that allows you to leave this front part of your brain and make decisions and think in real time, right? And so that's been being taught something, and that's learning something, and that it creates like a reel that it plays in your head, and it projects that out in the world, and you sort of live in that projector screen that you project out in the world that's coming from that reel that you just keep living and like imprinting, and this is the way you think and feel. So if you're running the streets, Johnny, and you're in that crowd, also that's creating an echo chamber. You're just hearing the same shit that you think and feel all back around you, and this is the world. And also all you know is that then your subconscious, what you're teaching it is that. And so somewhere in us, you got to say, I feel like there's something that maybe this is the spiritual side, when you say you hit spiritual rock bottom, that knows, like, that doesn't feel well with that. It's like something's not right. And that's the part of us that also makes us want to keep getting high and not go very long with feeling that way, because it feels like shit. And so when we do sober up, we feel it longer and we feel it harder and we feel it deeper, which is what you're talking about. Like if you don't have ways to handle that, you go pretty, you know, you can relapse.
Yeah.
And the other thing, or you have something to say on that?
No, I was just agreeing.
Okay, and then the other thing I was thinking too is that I was wondering if the piece too, Josh, that one of the things I found is like taking accountability and responsibility is so damn powerful. It's such a power center for us because it's the one time and place in which you can say, well, damn, I had that effect on this, which means that I can alter outcomes and I can start that now. And that's a powerful place to be. If you don't take accountability and responsibility and say, and own your shit from your past and kind of start even doing that assessment, looking at it like, man, I had a big hand in that play. I had a big hand in the way that my mom handed me on this or this person here. If you don't do that, then that means you didn't have any power then, which means you don't have any power now, which is not a very peaceful place to be. Right?
Very well said.
Yeah. I think that thing, that step 4, is it, Johnny? I think that's a power play step right there. Step 4.
Yeah,
And here's
it's
the
not a
thing.
very comfortable one.
What's that?
It's not a very comfortable one.
Right.
You know,
And it's why a lot of people relapse and they say, oh, that 4th step, or they get scared of it. And it's because what we're doing is we're bringing that shit from the subconscious to the conscious and we're putting it on paper. The thing that people forget is that you got to get through that. And then you got to jump right into 5, 6, and 7, which is where the relief comes, which is where you get it out. If you just sit there and you take your time on the 4th and you just start, which a lot of people do, right? They just start, they start marinating on that shit. Well, what the fuck do you think's going to happen? Those are all the reasons that you've been drinking and drugging for the 10, 20, 30 years.
Okay, then here's
You
the
know?
question. So for people that are hitting step 4, that are in the middle, they're at step 4 and they are either struggling with it or about to quit or just did. What do you think the human emotions you got to embody to power through step 4 to do it? What are some of the traits you got to, what are the things you have to feel to do it? Just like courage would be some of it. You gotta face it, right? That'd be one.
Yeah.
You gotta have some like
integrity.
What else?
Integrity. You
Integrity.
just gotta do it. You gotta muscle through it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, look at it like this: like nothing that you can write down, reminisce about, remember, talk about, discuss, however you want to phrase it. None of that is going to be worse than what you've already been through.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
I love
like
that.
you lived it. So talking about it, yeah, man. Hey, dude, it might bring up some hard feelings or this or that, but those feelings go away. And if you keep going, they go away faster than what you know it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
muscle through it, just keep going.
We talked about this before. It's almost like you're building a muscle. Like you keep doing that, you get stronger and it gets easier. And just like if you go to the gym and you start off, trying to curl 50, it's not happening. It's gonna be painful, but I work my way up. So there's a day that might get easy, right? If you guys you're doing it and you keep doing it, there's gonna be a point where there's like a sense of like peace or grace, like when you're just like own your shit, and then you get to start doing it in real time, which is where the real power comes. I think like when you can do it in the moment, catch yourself when you're going when that wave of something's coming up and you catch it before it crashes and you're like, oh shit, I'm about to start doing this, and you own it. Like that's your power, because that's where you start altering the trajectory of the future of your life, right? If you can own it in the real time, right? Because now you're not going down that same road that you always did before.
Which by the way, Jen, that's the 10th step, which is continue to take personal inventory. And when I'm wrong, I'm promptly admitting it. So that's part of the steps as well. The 10th step is to figure that, just so you know. And the other thing that's funny that you said is like, what are the traits that it takes, and courage. So every step has a principle behind it. And funny enough, the 4th principle is courage.
Is it?
So
that's cool.
Yeah.
I like these steps. These steps are cool. They're good print. They're good for everybody to live by.
Josh, I say this to everybody. It's a good way to live life.
Yeah. They really are. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with it. And not only makes people better in the world. Like if everybody embodied lived a little bit by these steps, I feel like the world would be a hell of a lot better.
Yeah. I mean, they're life-saving. You know what I'm saying? Like literally.
Yeah.
I explain them as simply difficult. Because like there's nothing difficult about any of them. They're all very simple steps. They're simple to read. Hell, there ain't even words in them that are hard to explain. You know what I'm saying? Like everything about them is simple, but me as a human, I made them difficult by trying to fight it
Yeah.
or not wanting to do it.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
That's so funny you say. I always say simple is not necessarily easy because humans will make it difficult, right? We'll take,
Right.
yeah. Yeah, you're right.
So take us through what happens. Like, I mean, we don't need to go into like, we all, jails, institutions, and death. That's what happens to us, right? Like the street is the same for most of us. Like, take us through because we're only at like high school, and I want to make the bulk of this about how what happened and what it's like now.
Okay,
So
but real
take
quick,
us through.
wait, real quick though. 16 though, dad gets you. Did you go home at 16? Just real quick. Sorry, Johnny. At 16,
Yeah, I came back here to West Tennessee, was put in an alternative school for pretty much juvenile delinquents, and was told I was going to ride that out until I turned 18 or until I graduated. So 3 days later, I took my GED, passed it, and went right back to the streets.
Okay. Now, are you doing drugs at this point in life?
Am I what?
Are you doing drugs or are you just selling at this point?
Oh, no, I've been actively high since I was 13 until about 13 or 14 months ago.
Okay. May I ask how many years that was? Because without asking your age.
How old are you?
I'm 36.
Okay. Oh, so 23 years, 22 and a half.
You can ask guys how old they are, Jen.
That's true,
We
that's
don't
right.
give a fuck.
We can ask me too.
I'm like proud. I'm proud that I'm old. Like I didn't think I'd be this fucking old. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
Oh, yeah.
My whole dad side of the family threw me a big birthday party when I turned 20. Was hugging me, crying, talking about they never thought that I was gonna make it till 20. Like, yeah.
all right.
Okay. All right. Well, all right. So all right. So you were 13, you're getting high. You were smoking what you were making also.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So now, John, you want us to fast forward to like where do you want to go to now?
No, Josh, is there anything like any like highs or lows, or did you have any like anything like for instance with me, like there were moments where, and now I went to the Marine Corps, I took a break from like really bad drug addiction, and then I did the military thing, and I talk about purpose and how like the military at least gave me some purpose, which is I didn't know it at the time, but that's probably what was keeping me almost alive or keeping me afloat for a while. And then I was able to drink and drug on the weekends and do all that. But for you being out there that whole time, I mean, were there any moments where you had some like clarity, or where like you tried to get right, or was it just like balls to the wall, the whole time?
Yeah, there were two scenarios that I remember that were pretty significant in me steering in the right direction. One of them was, so I have older cousins. One of my older cousins' name's Adam. I looked up to him my entire life. You know what I mean? Like he was just a cool dude, man. He got on drugs pretty bad, and he used to come to my house in the projects, and we'd get stuff and come over there and smoke and just whatever, hang out, get high. So one day he was asleep at the wheel of his truck. The engine was roaring, his foot was on the gas. Dude come in my house, was like, "Hey man, your cousin's out here. I think he's dead." So I went out there and woke him up and got him active and moving around and talking to me again, and told him, like, "Look, cuzzo, you're cut off. Like, you can't come back here and get nothing else." Like honestly, and we sat out there and had a heart to heart for a little while, but it ended with me telling him he needed to go home. Like, you need to go back to your mom's house, dude, and get back to your roots and clean your shit up, and I'd be damned if he didn't do it, dude. Like, he went home that next day. Matter of fact, he went home that night and told his parents, "Look, I'm going to be out here in the shed. I got some dope. I'm going to be high all night, but like, I want to quit, and he ended up going to a Hope Center the next day, and he cleaned up and has been sober ever since. He's got both his kids back, doing great, like he's that role model again that I remember, Other than that, man, so I reached a point in my life where I needed help and I didn't know where to go to get it. So I went to my cousin Adam's house. I knocked on his door. Dude, he opened the door, stepped out, and hugged me. It was like, I recognize that look. You need a place to stay. I was like, yeah, dude, I do. Like, I don't know what I'm doing, man. My son come up
Yeah.
to me, was like, Dad, I can't live like this anymore. You're violent with people, this and that. Like, I just can't live like this anymore. And what do you tell your 8-year-old son that comes up and tells you that? It was like, okay, bro, like, go pack your stuff. I'm gonna go find somewhere for us to go. And I went straight to my cousin Adam's house. Like I said, dude, he opened the door, hugged me, and was like, man, you can have this room right here. Where's Mason? All right. I started unloading our stuff, and he went and got my son.
And you're single. You're somewhat single parenting it at this point, correct?
Yes. Yeah. I was with my wife for 16 years. We were married for 10 years. Um, I ended up getting into a fight in the projects and went to jail. Um, when I got out, she was gone, dude. Like, I don't know how else to say it other than she was just gone. Drugs had got her, which we were doing drugs together anyway, but it hadn't got that bad.
Oh, you mean she was gone up here mentally?
She was gone. We lost our house. We had lost our car. My son was living at my dad's house. They hadn't seen her.
Oh,
So
She
I
she
got out.
disappeared. She literally disappeared.
literally was gone. Okay.
Yeah, in the same town, but she was just, and then I didn't go look for her. I went and found my son and started working on him. And we ended up moving into my cousin Adam's house. And so something that we had always done, like I had always been present in my son's life, not just there, but present, active. We did everything together, even in my addiction. Uh, we would pray. 8:30 come around, it's time to lay down, read till you get tired, pray, go to sleep, get up, go to school. That was our routine. And one night, man, he asked me in his bubbly little self, he was like, hey, so you want to pray tonight? And I don't know, man. Something just hit me different about that, dude. Like this time it was different. And I mean, now I still put it off on him, just giving him the excuse like, no, I like hearing you pray. Why don't you pray? You know what I'm saying? Because I had problems between me and God. The problems weren't between God and me. It was between me and God. You know what I'm saying? But I hadn't overcome those yet. And just the way that he shrugged his shoulders, he was like, okay. And he prayed, lay down, went to sleep. So that night, I was sitting there with my eyes closed, talking to God, man, telling him, like, I don't really know if there's a criteria to praying to you, or if there's rules to this, or hell, I don't know what to even say, So I'm just coming to you like I'm talking to you, because this is all I know to do. But if there's ever a time in my life that you might possibly reach me and let me know that I'm not a lost cause, um, right now would be it. Can you please, just let me know? Dude, as real as I'm sitting here in front of y'all, like it brings tears to my eyes, even thinking about this moment in my life. But he made it so bright that I had to open my eyes. Like, dude, let me say that again. Like praying to God, asking him to show me a sign that I was still his. He made it so bright. I had to open my eyes. And from that point on, bro, I'm not going to say I've been perfect. I've made a lot of mistakes, but I'm trying to learn from them. And I'm trying to head towards him with every step that I take. Because now I realize every step that I don't take towards him is a step away. And I don't want this life for my son. So I'm not one to sit around and talk about the changes that could be made and this and that. I'm very much actively a person that believes stand up and be that change. Let's talk about the results after it's over. And that brought me here.
Quick question. Who taught your son to pray if you weren't able to pray yourself? Why did you teach your son to pray? I'm just wondering.
So no, not necessarily. I would pray with him, but he pretty much developed his prayer routine on his own. Like, he would go to church, and I would take him to church sometimes. Most of the time, he would go with my dad and my stepmom. They're in church every Sunday. I guess so. From listening to them and this and that, you know.
Did you believe that there was like, and we don't have to get way into this, but do you believe that there was a God that only that, but like, did you believe in God, but you were too far gone, and that your son was like not gone yet? Like, I don't know. Again, I could be totally off. Is that something that like he still can be saved? Like he can still, you know what I mean? But I'm fucked because I've felt that way. I used to
You
pray for my
know,
daughter and for her mom and everyone else, but not for myself.
so well, and now I will say this: I don't really pray for myself very much anymore. You know, I pray for others. You know what I'm saying? Like I feel selfish when I pray for myself because I feel like I'm wasting that breath that could go to help somebody else. You know, I'm where I need to be. I'm cool. I got everything I need. I've got most of what I want. I've got my son. Like, I don't see the need in for me to pray for myself very often because, bro, there's other people out here that really do need help and they need somebody to pray for them. So I try to spend most of that time praying for others. Now, I will say that no, no, I never felt like I was a lost cause or that he didn't love me. It was a way for me to stay angry. It was a way for me, it was a direction I could point my anger in. Even though I knew I was wrong for it, there was no backlash. There was nobody sitting there bitching at me. There was nobody telling me I was wrong. So it just made it easy to blame God.
So you
Gotcha.
always believed in a God, but you were just angry with God for a while?
Yeah. Yes. Very,
I
very much.
never, I, I never prayed for him to help me, I guess is what I'm going to, right? Like I never, like when I didn't do the what they call foxhole prayers, like God, if you just get me out of this one. I never did that because I'm like, I always knew, like, well, I thought I was a piece of shit because of how I'd done to my wife, my kids, my family, right? So that's why I didn't think God wanted anything to do with me. But I also didn't, I knew that like like I wasn't doing the right thing. Like so praying to God, I wasn't like, again, it was selfish. It was like I'm using God, and you don't use God. You know what I'm saying? Like in my eyes. And so, but now I agree with you. I don't pray for myself. What I always do is I pray for guidance because I still don't know always what the right move is. You know, even with helping people and with like things that I do in my for work and things, I'm always praying for the guidance to show me so that I, can take the action that needs to be taken. You know?
Yeah. And see, like I was very much shit, man, probably for 10 or so more years, man, I was very anti-God, if you want to put any kind of jacket on it at all.
I was just gonna
Like,
ask that, but I don't know if it was gonna be too touchy. So when you say anti-God, like you believed, but you just were actually mad, like didn't want to have anything to do with him, or you actually stopped believing a little bit.
so in my own personal opinion, I don't think once you believe that you can just stop believing. You see what I'm saying? Like if you believe, then that's something you believe. You know it to be true. Now you can steer away from it. You can blind yourself to it by any way that you want to, but it's still there. You know what I'm saying? Now that's just my own personal belief. But the way that I was, man, was I was angry. Like I was pissed. And I went from praying when I was a child, growing up and this and that, to I woke up actively trying to take people away from God for a long time and was successful at it for a while. You know, I'm very, very meticulous. I'm intelligent. I can talk you into believing what you don't believe. And that's what I would try to do. I would try to give people discrepancies in the Bible and this and that to make them question why they believe in God for a long time, you know. And
When did you start doing that?
I started doing that after I lost my daughter,
Okay.
you know. It was a very dark moment in my life for a long time. I figured, hell, if I'm going to be living in this hell and this darkness, everybody around me is fixing to be, you know. Uh, I'm just sick and tired of being sick and tired, man. I didn't know how to change. And that's where drug court comes in. You know, I caught a bunch more charges, got a bunch of years hanging above my head right now. But like I told that judge, like, dude, you look at me like I'm living wrong, and like you look at me like in awe of the things that I'm doing, but in retrospect, like I'm just living. Like this is just my life. Like I don't know anything different. It's drugs and breaking the law. Like that's it. Like I do so much of it and are so deep into it. I don't even look at it like it's a bad thing anymore. It's just my normal day. You know, if you know a better way, hey man, show me. Dude, I'll take it and I'll run with it. And I'll try to bring others with me. You know, and dude, that's what I do today.
So let's go back because I don't think Jen knows. Obviously, I do. So your last drink and drug was really this is so we've talked you and I talked about drug court and we talked about how drug court a lot of times like I believe and you're one of the few and I think it's awesome, but that drug court it keeps people in the system, right? It's so hard to get through drug court. That like you make white knuckle it through a couple months and the next thing you end up back going up the road or getting locked up again and doing your time anyway. So a lot of guys I knew would say fuck your drug court, just give me the time, right? You actually took the opportunity and you're not walking, you're sprinting with it, like you know what I'm saying. So take us back to like the moment where that all happened so that like Jen understands and whoever else listens.
So what do you want? You want like when I was arrested and what got me on drug court, or just when I was in drug court and what made like change my mental state?
Yeah, the opportunity that they gave you and that you like that many other guys have had, but they weren't willing to do the things necessary like you continue to do.
They treated me like I was a person. Simple as that. Right. The judge called me by name. He asked me, he was one of the first people in a position that could help me, not to look down on me like I was some washed up criminal that needed to be sent up the river. Like he asked me what was wrong with me. So, man, what's wrong with you? Like, how can we help you? Uh, I had never been treated like that in a courtroom. You know what I'm saying? Like,
tell me what's the contrast of that? What would be the opposite? How does normal court go?
so most of the time they kind of, I'm not going to say put their nose up to you, but they look at you exactly how you are. You know, I think that was the difference this time is I was standing in front of that judge wanting the change, needing.
They see
needing
they see the piece of shit drug addict, not the person that's underneath that.
Right, right. They see the person I've put myself in being instead of the godly intended person that I could be.
Exactly.
You see what I'm saying?
It sounded like this judge talked to who you could be and who you were underneath. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he talked to me with compassion, you know.
Is that something common, Johnny, in drug courts? Are the judges different?
I mean, judges are all different, but
I mean, like
personally, I think it's great. I think it's great that the judge treated him that way, but I give and I don't know the situation, right? Like Josh and I don't know each other that well, but just in the little time I've known him, to me, what really was different about this situation with drug court is that he was treated like a human, but he was ready to be a human. And I could be wrong, but that's what it sounds like to me. Yeah. So take us there, man. Like let's get into the good shit, dude. Like what happens from that moment on? Like tell us how, I want to know how you met Ben, how you got involved with what you're doing and let's go.
All right. So, once like I said, I got put on drug court. They sent me to a treatment center and I spent my first 30 days sober in a place called Serenity.
Wait. I have to because you moved in with Adam. How long ago was that move?
Oh, now that's been about 5 years ago, probably. Okay.
So from that, so you still are getting high and running around, but at least that was to answer Johnny's question, was the time in which you had that inclination of what you wanted to change. You wanted to start making the change. Okay. And then now the drug court thing is when?
So I got put on drug court last March.
Okay. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was in treatment from February till March and then went into drug court, which I was on drug court when I went to treatment, but I didn't actually sign the papers and stuff until I got out of treatment. And then they sent me to a place called Rebo's. It's a sober living house, like a halfway house, which Ben and Jessa Owens own. So, dude, I was there and was doing morning meditations, going to meetings like AA meetings, HA meetings, NA meetings, and stuff. You're required to do them, and just started trying to be open to change. You know, like there were people around me that had been sober. They smiled, they laughed. You know, like, and maybe this ain't that bad. You know, and there was a couple of guys that sat out on the porch early in the mornings and drank coffee, and then would leave and go to work. Well, I mean, I've been around the block. I wasn't very handy at the time, but I had the initiative to, dude, I'm going to have to start paying rent here. I need a job. You know, this is what a man's supposed to do, is stand up and go to work. That way you can provide for you and yours. Well, I need to learn that, you know. So I would sit out there and drink coffee with them, smoke cigarettes, and irritate the shit out of them until they went to work about giving me a job. And they kept telling me, well, you know, it's Ben's call. You gotta ask Ben. Well, I don't know, probably 2 weeks into it, 3 weeks maybe, Ben walks up on the porch and I'm like, hey, what's up, Buttercup? Like, you're who I need to talk to. I need a job. I'm like, these guys go to work every day. So why can't I just jump in the truck with them, go to work? You know, he was like, okay, go ahead. It's like, well, you know, here you got a lot of stuff going on. Like, I want to be part of the mission, you know, like I want to help. I don't want to just go to work. Like, well, throw me in the thick of it. Like, I want to help. You know, surprise to me, like he let me. You know what I mean? Like he taught, like watching him do, and all of the stuff that he does was just inspiring. You know, like why not? If I'm going to change the way that I'm living and try to learn a better way, why not change like completely? You know, stop living in the darkness and stop being okay with everything that is wrong. Like, I know what's right and I know what's wrong. So why not? You know, who knows? I might be able to help somebody along the way, just trying to do right by myself. And dude, it has spiraled. Not, I guess that's the wrong term, not spiraled out of control.
Right.
But it's grown very rapidly, very quickly. Like I tell people a lot, dude, I wish people could come into recovery the way that I could, or the way that I was able to. You know, I linked up with We Fight Monsters and started helping people left and right. And dude, that's really what has saved me, is service work. You know, being able to be somebody that, like a year ago, like check this out, dude. A year ago, a little over a year ago, I was kicking doors, putting pistols in people's faces and robbing them. Today, I've got a plethora of people that call me needing help because I'm a person today that'll pick up my phone and come help somebody. You know, like that's monumental to me. And being able to be that person drives me forward just that much more. Like I love being able to be who I am today. Like I literally remember the day that I used to pray for being right here where I'm at today.
Is that feeling of partly a purpose too, that you know what your purpose is?
Yeah, I found my purpose back, I don't know, almost a year ago. Now I'm working on my value. You know, once you find your purpose, then you can start working on the value of yourself.
Okay.
You know, like we're all created on purpose and for a purpose. This one's mine, helping people. Dude, I'll be here for the rest of my life.
So how do you start working, when you say you start working on value, what is that? What's that look like?
That goes back to like what I was talking about. Like, you start being okay with the person that you are. You start working your steps. You know, you start dealing with your past. You start dealing with you. Everything that you've been running from your whole life and trying to hide from, and trying to hide from other people, like, man, screw that. Walk right off in the middle of that problem and let's fix it, so that we can walk right off in the middle of the next problem and fix it. And before long, hey, you're looking back at a bunch of fixed problems over a year's time. And now you're starting to see other people's problems that are fixed, that it's left in your wake of you fixing yourself. And that's why I say, like, my past no longer bothers me. I use my past as a tool for other people today in early recovery so that they can figure out a little bit of purpose in their lives, add a little bit of value to their character, how they feel about their self, you know?
Mhm.
They say all of our paths are make us uniquely, or our paths or make us uniquely qualified to help others. And I think that's the change, right? Like my past that I used to have guilt and shame over, now I'll sit in front of I used to shoot dope. I was gonna say my neck. I don't want, I used to shoot dope over the fact that of what a piece of shit I was for what I had done to my daughter and her mom. Now I'll get up in front of 100 people at a meeting and share, you know, not proudly, but very openly, and make it very clear that I am no longer shameful about what I did and the transgressions and the thing, how I hurt the people, because it's no longer who I am. Right. And that is, again, because I'm uniquely qualified to talk about that because I've been through it. And we all have that story, right? We all have a story that makes us uniquely qualified to help somebody.
Yeah. Yeah. And to help the majority of civilization nowadays, I mean, dude, everybody's going through something. We can all be unified through struggle. It doesn't have to be addiction. You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody's going through a struggle. Everybody's fighting some kind of war inside of them they're not telling you about. You know what I'm saying? It just happens that my war was addiction. It was the battle of good and evil.
It's like your boy's shirt, right? I hope you win the war. No one tells you, tell no one about it, whatever. I think Ben's got
Yeah.
a shirt. So Ben has a bunch of merch that he sells to raise money too. He's got a bunch of cool shirts, Jen. I'll show you his.
I like that one.
His
So
site. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what exactly do you guys do with the foundation? Kind of give us a little update on that.
We Fight Monsters has a multitude of platforms that we work on and do. Like, so one of the main things that we do is child trafficking, sex trafficking. We help get victims out of the streets and away from their traffickers and in safe houses, counseling, trauma counseling, the whole works. And what we're finding is most of the time the trafficking victims around through here, or just in general, they're there because of their addiction. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're being coerced by the traffickers or the dealers in order to get their drug and sustain their life. So to go along with that, we have an initiative called Buy Back the Block. So what we're doing is buying up trap houses, brothels, shutting them down and remodeling them, turning them into sober living homes. And like I said, they own Rebos, which they've got 3 Rebos houses. They have one for drug court. Well, it's the drug court house where most of the guys coming through drug court go to that house for their first 6 months. And then they've got a veterans house. They've got a girls house. Then we opened up a Sparrow house not long ago, which is for sex trafficking survivors that have children, like mom and kids, to where they can get back in their life and start living a life that they just don't feel in danger all the time. Provide a little bit of peace for them. And it's a sister org to Flandersfield, which Flandersfield is the veterans side of what we do. That just helps veterans. It houses veterans, helps them with addiction problems, rooming problems, and just so between both those orgs, dude, we help everybody that we possibly can. Like, you see somebody homeless, stop and ask them, well, hey bro, why are you in this position? Like, are you tired of being in this position? Like, I mean, it has to be your journey. You have to take the steps in it, but it doesn't mean that we can't guide you along the way and help you. Like, you're battling addiction. Hey, bro, I was there just not long ago. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't judge at all. I don't care what you're going through. It doesn't matter. Like, me and you belong to God. So why am I going to treat you any different because you're living a different type of lifestyle? It doesn't mean you have to live that type of lifestyle. Like, let's change it. Are you open to it? They do evacs, disaster relief, We do a lot of different things with a lot of different categories, but it's all centered around recovery and just simply helping people because that's what we're here to do.
Incredible. I didn't realize there was the sex trafficking. I didn't even make that correlation with the addiction. So with that side, is it primarily females?
Yeah.
And so they're addicted, and then because they're either out of it or they're trying to feed their addiction, and someone preys on that, or how does that
That's
happen?
that's exactly what they do. Hook them on drugs and then feed their drug habit and require them to do things that they normally wouldn't.
And they do
Yeah.
this.
Hey,
They do
Jen,
that.
it's as simple as this, man. I used to leave treatment with girls because I knew they were a means for me to get drugs. You know what I'm saying? And it was like, and this is one that I have a very place in my heart for girls in treatment now. Number one, because as I've said before, like my relationships coming out of treatment were very deadly for myself and for the female that I was in it with. But it was to the point where it's like, I know exactly this girl can get me. You know what I'm saying? If I drop her off at the block, at the house, you know,
You can give me anything I
um,
want. Yeah.
I'll get whatever I want. I just got to, bring her. And then and numerous times where I leave and she doesn't, because she's also, now it's a transactional thing. She's going there because she wants free drugs, but I'm serving it up on a platter
Right.
for her. And
Right.
now I'm getting drugs. She doesn't want to leave there because now she's hooked. I mean, not that she wasn't a drug addict before, but you know what I'm saying? Like, she
Right.
now has her place where she is now going to be peddled for dope, basically.
Yeah. The
So
guys come and go.
so then the brothels basically serve as a meeting ground for this to occur. So like people.
I mean, I wouldn't even call it a brothel. This is just like a trap house where
Yeah,
like
but he's
the
got
girl.
trap houses and brothels, which makes me think there's two different types of things.
No,
It
they're
could be.
so like back in the day, a brothel was something different, but they're all pretty much trap houses now.
Okay.
The house that I'm talking about used to be a brothel. Like that was its primary source. Was you go in there and
Okay.
there's women everywhere for sale, pretty
Okay.
much. You know, and it's currently shut down, and we're renovating it to turn it into a sober living home for women with children.
So the sex trafficking then you guys are talking about is actually occurring within trap houses.
Yes.
So is this like,
Now,
if I see, when a lot of times I'll see in my hood, people, guys and girls, you can tell that there's definitely a relationship drug oriented, that the guy's getting drugs from the girl and the girl's out there on working the street or some version of that. And they're going somewhere, and you can kind of see where they coalesce. So they're going somewhere to all do this. Is that like a variation of that you're talking about the sex trafficking? Like what's the difference between sex trafficking and, Johnny, what you're saying, like a female opting into it in exchange for drugs?
A male coercing her into it. Her
uh,
being willing to sell herself for a drug.
yeah,
Yeah.
fear, I would
Yeah.
say.
Okay,
Yeah.
so like somebody actually scaring her, or to actually.
Yeah, and
Go ahead.
I don't really think that it starts off with fear. It starts
Okay.
off with the attraction of the drug. You know,
Right.
you
Okay.
hook them with the drug, and then before long, it's like, hey, you ain't going nowhere. Hell no. Like, get back out there and do this. You know,
And-
oh, you want some drugs now? Okay, well, you need to do this, or hey, I'll pay you this if you'll go do this for them. You know,
They intentionally hook them, get that,
Yeah.
and then these are exchanged for those guys to make to broker the
Well,
women and get
yeah,
the money.
and I don't want to, like, my situation, like I said, hook them as in like get them into the house. Like, they're already hooked on drugs. You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of time in the situation I'm talking about, and like what they deal with is a lot that, like, they goes more to the sex trafficking. Like, they do a lot of different, like,
That's what I'm wondering. Yeah, the difference.
yeah, like what I'm saying is like just your basic sex
Yeah.
trafficking, like
Yeah.
where like this girl is going in there knowing she's gonna get high. But now it's an opportunity where, like, why would I leave this house where I'm gonna get free drugs and go with me, who has to go sleep behind a building, when I could go in here, get free drugs, fuck this guy, and or do X, Y, and Z,
Mhm.
when I can get free drugs, because I'm a drug addict, she's a drug addict. she's gonna do what, like, because one above all, as we've talked about, is getting hot, right?
Right.
Like everything else comes second to getting loaded. So that's kind of where the transaction occurs, if that makes sense.
I gotcha. And then but Josh is talking about actually taking somebody who is not an addict yet and turning them into one for the purpose of now becoming a sex worker.
Yeah, like, man, it's, to me, I feel like it's a very easy mark for guys to find a girl that's doing drugs. All right. And back to like what he was saying, in a lot of those cases, the guys come and go. Like they're there, they get their drugs, and like he's saying, the girls stay. Well, that's pretty much anywhere and everywhere. You know what I'm saying? Like the girls stay. They can. You know? I mean,
Look, I
they
work
don't
in
have
treatment,
anything to
and
do.
I work in treatment, and you'll have a guy and a guy go out, leave a treatment center. The guy always comes back first
Oh, really?
because the girl can stay out. The girl can stay out, and she gets into these type of relationships. It hurts me. You know what I mean? Because I've been a
Yeah.
part of that. But because they have their body, man. They can sell their body. Whereas I have to turn around and come back. They can, they can continue on until who knows, until that you find them.
Well, Johnny,
Well, yeah.
do you guys know any of the numbers on females versus males as far as
No.
recovery? Like, well, you're telling me that they have basically the opportunity to stay high longer.
Well, they have an unlimited source of money out on the street,
Right.
as to where males don't.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, we got to go work, we got to go hustle up money, and
Right.
then come to the trap house to sell it. They don't.
Right.
They're going to make money just sitting there.
Huh. I wonder how much that affects the rate of recovery. So then you guys find out about these places, you clean them, you go, you evacuate them, and then you go and you remodel them and stuff. Is that what you're doing?
Yeah, turning them into sober living houses, safe houses for people that are trying to get better themselves, and it works, man. Like, so we've took two of the most crime-ridden, gang-affiliated streets in South Memphis, and in the last year, there hasn't been a reported crime on either one of them. You pull the community into it, you throw grill outs out in the street, walk up down the roads, talk to people, like pull them into it, show them like, hey man, we're here to help. That's it. Like, we're not calling the police on anybody, none of this and none of that. It's not something that you can prosecute your way out of, and I say that, I started saying that because it was something I heard Ben say and it just sounded cool. But now I see it. Like, we're not out trying to get anybody in trouble. I don't care if you're a drug dealer, hey, you're an entrepreneur. Why don't we switch up? Stop selling drugs. Start a car wash. Anything. You know what I'm saying? Like, you've got the business mentality. Let's put it to use.
Yeah. Yeah.
The females, hey man, you don't have to be this way. You don't have to do this. You're doing it because you're being coerced. You're being talked into doing it because it furthers your style of life, the only style of life that you know at this point. But it doesn't have to be that way, So that's the angle that we're coming at, is trying to fix it all. Like, you can't. It's not a problem you can put a Band-Aid on. And I feel like when you try to prosecute your way out of these type of problems, that's all you're doing. Like, you bust a trap house and arrest people. Well, 9 times out of the 10, you're not getting the dude that's moving all the drugs anyway. You're getting his workers. So the trap house picks up and moves over here and just starts business.
Oh, you're mute.
You muted yourself.
Wait, you muted yourself.
You muted yourself.
Somebody was calling me.
Oh, okay. What were you saying?
I was saying, like, so when you fix the root problem, you're taking the problem out of the equation in general.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Like,
well, that's the difference between blame and responsibility. Like, prosecutions, it's just the execution of blame. It's just basically saying, you did this, it's your fault, and here's the punishment. You guys going in and removing the root problem is actually responsibility. It's the ability to respond to it in real time and figure out what the cause of it is. And those are one's powerful and one has no power in it. And blame and prosecution doesn't have a hell of a lot of power in it. You're not stopping anything from happening before it happens.
Right. And let's face it, man, a lot of people in the streets are in the streets because they don't know any other option.
Yeah.
It's just the life. That was my case. It was just the life I knew. You know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't know that there was a better opportunity. Nobody ever tried to show me that there was a different opportunity or a different way to go. All right. Once I figured that out and somebody gave me that opportunity, dude, I took it and run with it. And other people will too.
That brings me to my question. So for people that are listening, if you had the personality type that's listening that you think is like you, like what's the type of person you're a kid who just started getting angry before you were 13. What were you angry at?
Life. I didn't know what I was angry at. I was just angry.
Okay.
You know?
Okay. Family, life, people, just in general.
Yeah, I was solely selfish.
Okay.
You know, I thought everything happened to me and everybody was doing this to me. And it made me angry. And I didn't have any guidance. So I didn't have anybody telling me, hey, man, you have to own your own shit. You know, you have to take accountability for what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
You know your part in it.
Mm-hmm.
And then that it opens up a different door. It gives you a whole different view.
If somebody had told you that, would you have even been receptive to it back then?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
No, I had to hit rock bottom. I had to hit my own bottom.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Did you ever feel guilt during this, like, let's say crimes? Did you feel guilt or did you just feel like it was just part of day to day? It was like, washing a car.
No, today I do in certain cases. You know what I'm saying? Like I'll feel bad about the way that something went. But no, back then, no, I didn't have no guilt. I didn't have no remorse. The drugs that I was on and the things that I was doing, it was just, hey, bro, sorry, it happened to you.
Really?
I never felt guilt back then. I did feel shame for the
Okay.
things I did to my daughter and some of the people that I had hurt. I had shame about it. I didn't have any guilt about it. Now I have guilt. I don't have any shame about it. And the guilt I don't allow to be. I use it for positive. You know what I'm saying? Like I still feel guilty about like not seeing my daughter for long periods of time. But you know what I do with that? When there's this, should I buy her these shoes or not? I buy her the fucking shoe. Like little, like you know, when I don't know if I should like go harder or do more, that guilt drives me to, yeah, you know what? Go do that. Go, you know what I'm saying? But I
Right.
never had that type of guilt. But the only emotion I ever had when I was getting high in the street was shame. And I think that was just because that was fuel for my addiction. Because when I felt shame, oh, poor me, I had to keep using. Nothing else. I didn't feel sadness. I just felt like shame. And I genuinely believe that that's just the way that my brain was able to continue to go do the things that it needed to do to get high.
May I ask you, Johnny, what do you think the difference is between shame and guilt? Like in your definition.
Oh yeah, guilt is I did, shame is I am.
Right. So guilt is something that you can feel and do something about, and shame is something that
Guilt is I did these things, I did these bad things. Shame is I am these bad things.
Gotcha.
Like I am. Yeah. And that's not, I didn't make that up, but I totally agree with it.
Yeah, no, that sounded really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So let's wrap this up. It's been well over an hour, man. I want to tell you one thing, Josh, that makes me know that God or the universe, whatever everyone believes in, was involved in our meeting each other, because that dude David that we went to lunch with.
Yeah.
So there was a brother and sister, Jen, that was at the house that also, the sister I guess helped out a little bit, and then the brother, his name is David. He had come in from Boston to check out what they had going on. So come to find out, remember I gave David my card.
Yeah.
Which I was hesitant to do because my card has Haven, has my work on it, and I wasn't there for work. I was there to literally, because I wanted to meet these guys. But I gave him my card and he called me. He's in Boston. He works for a friend of mine that I used to work with a year ago named John. And they work together in this veteran program. Remember how he said he was going to be a counselor for a veteran program? Well, it's my buddy's program. And how about this? Another guy that's has a small part of that company was my lead tech in Florida in 2016. He moved up to Boston to start this treatment center that David texted me and he goes, Matt DiNicola? I was like, I looked him up. I'm like, yeah, dude, he's like one of the techs that I remember not treating me like a piece of shit like the other judges. He treated me like a human, like you were saying. And I remember that guy. And they all end up working together in Boston. And we
That's
met
crazy.
in Memphis. So I don't know what's gonna come out of this, but like that's some fucking cool shit, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
But yeah. So
I-
hey bro, I appreciate it.
Well, wait,
Jen, go ahead.
yeah. God, I have so many questions. First of all, if I'd love to have you back on if Johnny's cool with that. Because I have so many questions. But I just for people listening, if they're in it right now or just on the other side, do you have any advice for them?
Yeah, man. Just believe in yourself. You know what I mean? I know that's hard to do, especially in active addiction. I only looked at myself like I was the bottom of the barrel and a washed up just loser pretty much. But there is change out there. There are good people out there that aren't going to look at you as just an addict. You know what I mean? Find somebody that treats you as a resource for what you know and what you've been through. And if you can't find somebody, damn it, stand up and be one. You know, you can't find a good person, be one. You'd be surprised how many good people will pop up. Best advice I can give anybody: sit at a table with people doing better than you. Sit at a table with people that are smarter than you. Sit at a table full of people that you want to be like. And before long, you'll be one of those people.
In case anyone hasn't told you, you're awesome, and thank you so much for all the work you're doing and letting all that love flow through you from your past into something good. Thank you.
All right. Thank y'all for having me. It's been fun.
It was
Let me
awesome.
just say this: they have no excuse to say that they can't find one because they got you and they got me, they got Jen, they got people, and if they're watching this, they can call us. Like I know you'll answer the phone. Go on Facebook, find us. You can, we're both gonna probably put this on our Facebook, and like there's so many different ways, and I agree with you, man. Like my old thing is always reach out. Number one, don't fucking give up, no matter what. Don't give up, and number two is just reach out because sometimes we don't know. You know what I mean? But if you reach out, I guarantee you, like we've made a commitment that like our hand is right here. You know what I'm saying? You just got to grab it. So, yeah. So, dude, awesome, man. Like I said, I've said this to you before. I said at the beginning. I said early in your journey, and I didn't mean early because 13 months is a fucking eternity in sobriety. When you think about like when someone hearing this is like, what a piece of what that you're saying that's early. Like, I never thought I'd get 13 months. I'm sure you probably didn't either, So that's an eternity. I just mean like where you're at, dude, and you're I don't know, people have been talking about vibrations and shit lately. Like, your vibration is like top notch, dude. So I appreciate you. I know we're gonna keep in touch. Jen will definitely have him back on.
Yeah.
And
You resonate. If there's a vibration, your resonance is truth. It's nice.
Yeah.
It's refreshing.
Well, I appreciate that. Love that shirt, by the way.
Johnny.
Yeah, dude. Thanks. Good move. Yep.
Yeah.
There it is.
That's that right there.
All right,
Much love to
Jen,
you.
we can
Thank
cut
you
it.
so much.